Hello everybody and welcome back to Pixel Junkies. I'm Aaron, I'm here with Dave.
Hey everybody.
There you go, and today we're going to be starting a brand new championship in F1 2018. We abandoned 2014, fuck it. It's fucking 5 years old at this point.
Yeah.
So we decided to move on to 2018, which is
the newest.
one of the main reasons I guess we moved over. Yeah, the most current one.
Yeah, for now at least.
Even though it is 2019, but it is, I would say, probably the best one that Codemasters has made. So we are here in Australia for round one of the championship. These are the starting positions for the race.
We've decided to go opposite teams this time.
Yes, that is true. For a little while there, championship mode was not available in the 2015 was terrible. 2016 improved it, but I don't think it had championship mode. And then 2017 reintroduced it. I might be wrong there, but anyway, we decided to get caught up on this and try different teams out. Mercedes and Ferrari were very dominant last season, so we figured it might be an interesting dynamic. So you're on board with me. I'm in the Mercedes. Dave is in the Ferrari. And we got a whole graphics package redone for this. We got some little highlights from qualifying, which was obviously a very wet session. And I think it was actually a long time ago that we recorded this, but because F1 almost. Pretty well, very long time. Well, not half a year really. But because Formula One is starting up again this weekend, we figured why not push this video out now. So qualifying was very wet. It started to dry up towards the end there, but very difficult to put in a decent lap. So we are pretty much free on tire strategy for the race because it was in the wet. And this is Melbourne, Australia. So these are our tire strategies here. And pop over to Dave and his super red Ferrari, which is actually kind of orange this year. 2019, not 2018. Because they decided for some reason to go with a matte paint job on the Ferrari.
My question is, why is the when we played it this previous week, the car looks different for some reason? Did they change it?
What do you mean?
Oh, the mirrors are
off on the formation lap here, and that might have been a graphics thing. This is actually Dave's first race, so he's I forgot to mention how the formation lap works.
I know how it works. I just didn't know my controls for the clutch.
Well,
and stuff,
I was under the impression that you didn't even know there was a formation lap
that too.
Button. So I totally forgot to tell you that until we were actually starting, and you ended up losing a bunch of positions. But as is in real F1, as long as your car can, under its own power, get off the grid, then it is able to rejoin in its position, which is what Dave ends up doing. They may have changed it visually. I'm not sure.
Because the mirrors are hanging from the crash bar and one we just did instead of the body.
Okay. Yeah, that was a thing that Ferrari did later on, and it was kind of point of contention, actually. A lot of people were saying that the halo, which is that weird horseshoe thing
the crash bar
around the driver's head, more or less just like a roll cage essentially, is effectively that, a safety device, and you shouldn't be allowed to hang any aerodynamic devices off of it or the mirrors. But Ferrari ended up getting away with it, I think, just for last season. I think in this year the mirrors actually need to be much further out and sort of attached to where the barge board areas are.
Oh, okay.
And there's Dave finally mapping a clutch key so that he can get off the line without it being a bit too abrasive, which is actually good in this game because when you pause, the AI continues to drive your car. Otherwise, it would be somewhat of a
you see me shoot off the wall somewhere.
Yeah. But this game is very good. A lot of different audio commands, a lot of different telemetry and stuff, live
overall
gameplay
delta
and stuff. Massively improved game. I'm just pulling up to the grid now. Finally get this race underway. And Ericsson not leaving the line, but
somehow still manages to race.
Ghosting, yeah, okay. Yeah, see, I don't know what happened there because I think when I was editing this, I checked to see what happened to Ericsson. I just drove through a couple cars or another. I think he did get away, but I think he ended up crashing into somebody, so the game automatically respawned him back in his grid box. Because it is a thing in this game, if you end up crashing into other cars, you will be penalized. And here we go. All the lights. And lights out, away we go. Let's
There we
see.
go.
Decent start. Dave keeping pace.
Oh.
Vettel coming across and pushing Dave wide, losing 10
Everything.
positions. Vettel getting to stand ahead of me. Is there Dave going wheel to wheel with signs there?
Pretty close there.
Oh man. Vettel keeping.
Forgot Vettel did that.
Yeah, keeps just staying ahead there, but smacking the wheels there. Going into turn 4, the parking lot.
That was a bad start, but don't overreact.
Yep,
So
bad
watch
start
this.
indeed. Yeah, so through turn 5, and this course, this entire track is essentially the street circuit, though it is somewhat the ring roads of Prince Albert
Very good
Park
circuit though.
in Australia. Yeah, it's fun to drive. It's always nice seeing, a couple of weeks before now, this time of the season, obviously, and Hulkenberg. You got ahead of Hulkenberg. He's looking to make a move through the chicane here. And Dave
Turbo cut it.
Uber massive corner cut in there.
Both corners.
Yep, okay. But it is very interesting to see the build-up into this Grand Prix, because it is the first Grand Prix of the season, so you do get a lot of pictures from Australian residents of the area sort of coming to life. Here we got a replay of the start. Abo with me. This is my start.
Ready to take a
Pretty
look at
decent
him.
bit of wheel spin. Vettel coming through though, and really didn't give me much space to close the door there. It's alongside very quickly, and Ricardo looking for a move as well. Here we're back another replay of what happened to Dave here. And Vettel really just pushed you off there. So,
Yep.
classic Codemasters AI at work. Although Hulkenberg did give you a bit of room.
Yeah, he did. I give him
Which
credit
is,
for that.
it is nice. Yeah, the AI is probably the weak point of the game.
Yeah, well. Could be
Anyway,
worse.
through where's this now? This is going back into turn 8 and 9. Car corner, bit of a chicane itself around this fast. Oh, we're back cutting over to Dave. So a fast swooping left-hander. Let's see if Dave manages to keep it into lines this time.
Kind of all over the road for some reason.
A little bit jumpy. Got the nerves. Got the nerves pressing down on you. You're in the purple sector.
Yep. So, I'm not doing terrible. I'm not doing spectacular.
Keeping pace with Vettel as well. He's not pulling away too much.
No. It seems like the more the racers that are actually competitive, since you're Hamilton and I'm who am I racing in? Vettel.
Well, you're racing as you, but you're in Raikkonen's car
Yeah, Raikkonen's
technically.
car. That's it.
DRS is being enabled this lap. We
DRS
can use
enabled.
DRS when you are within 1 second of the car ahead, and in the DRS zone.
But like the higher people are more aggressive. it
Yeah,
seems like.
I mean there are some weird like aggression modifiers. It seems like it also seems to kind of scale with the difficulty. If you put it up on really high difficulty, we're on about
we kinda have.
3/4 here now. Yeah, 75-ish, which I think is reasonable. Like the higher you go, the sort of more risks a lot of the drivers take, which I don't feel is
Battery is low on energy.
particularly realistic. Some
They
of them
kind
are
of take
just
stupid risks, in my opinion. Not
Yes,
necessarily-
they're not really aware, it seems like, of a lot of the cars around them, particularly the
Well,
player cars.
Yeah, they're aware of more other AI cars because they're programmed to be there, so to say. But it's not expected, so you're kind of just there, and if you're in their way, they don't care. Oh, love cutting that corner apparently.
Yep. They've shaving off that grass there. Getting close. You get yourself a penalty doing that.
Hmm.
Little,
Oh.
yeah. Oh,
Even.
hey, Hulkenberg trying to end the race with you there.
No, he actually did end his race though.
Massive wing damage. It broke his wheel off, and I think that pushed her even further into the wall. The virtual safety car, so all the cars on the track need to maintain the
Early
same
pit
speed.
stop.
Which, even though Dave is the person who brought out the virtual safety car, is kind of lessens the blow a little bit, just because everybody else is going slower.
Okay, slow down.
But replacing your front wing does make the pit stop a lot longer.
Reduce your pace.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not really ideal. Dave now running dead last, apart from Hulkenberg, who almost retired you as well.
Yeah, almost did.
And Vettel got the jump on me on that. Actually, no, we still got the VSC.
VSC
Okay.
ending, we're going
Yep.
green. Maintain positive delta until the green
He was a
flags.
little bit ahead of you, though.
Got to maintain that positive. Yeah, the VSC is great for kind of. I think that the sort of the intent of it is to, rather than with a normal safety car, everybody has to sort of bunch up again and then they restart the race, which
Yeah.
is nice. You get to see a lot of the sort of lap 1 action again. But another replay of what happened to Dave here. So let's see. On the apex wasn't too bad. Too far out onto the gravel. And yeah.
And then here comes Hulkenberg.
See what happened.
Eh.
Hulkenberg going to the outside line to hit the apex there, and was caught unawares of you re-entering the track. But of course, the safety car, it is interesting to see them all bunch up again, but it normally takes way too long
Yeah.
because you need to let everybody catch up, and if the car in first is a minute ahead of the guy in last, then that's all that time you got to wait for the guy in last to catch up, even if they're 2 laps behind. So that takes too long. With VSC, it helps kind of stabilize the race while they can clear away any
They just
cars
have
or
to
whatever.
maintain pace is what they need to do.
Yeah, so you have to maintain that delta. And like I was going to say, it benefits some drivers depending on when the VSC ends. If it ends when one driver is just entering a straight while the person behind is entering a corner, then it kind of gives the person ahead a little bit of an advantage because they're able to just accelerate right out of the bat rather than having to wait to go around a corner. So I think that kind of happened with me. Vettel there pulling away a little bit.
Well, you're catching them, though.
1.3 behind in the lap 5 now.
It seems like you got closer to him, though.
Yeah, reeling him back in little by little. See where Dave's still at, down 19th. See where the gap is. You can see that Williams, Sergei Sorokin in 18th, just ahead going through the chicane into turn 10 into 11. It was a very fast circuit, though.
Yeah. Once you get used to it, though, you can, get some pretty killer times on it.
And a nice bite off the corner there, too.
Yeah, seems like they do that like every time.
A bit more healthy than some of the other ones. Where are we at now? It's always interesting to see the aerial shots with the helicopters. You look at the cars on TV a lot, and for a long time I remember thinking, like, are they really going that fast? Are they really going that fast? Because, a lot of the shots are very low angles, and you see them coming towards you, and they always look like they're going slow. Gap down to 0.78 there now. And yes, having seen them in person, yes, they are very fucking fast. But the kind of the banana for scale test for television is always when you see the aerial shots of a car going through a bend at 200 miles an hour, and you can also see cars on the road, like next to the track.
Super slow.
And they're comparatively just like barely moving. You're like, holy shit, yeah. They're going pretty fast. Down to 0.5 there, yeah. A little bit, little balls out on that curb, which can be pretty dangerous. If you get too much of the car over there, it gets pulled away. The Timo Glock in 2008, I think it was, too far over that, ended up hopping over the grassy mound and actually broke his front suspension. The wheel flew off.
Oh.
So,
Gotta be careful in the bends, man.
dangerous. Getting caught up now, getting into the DRS zone. DRS zone meaning drag reduction system. Open up a flap in the rear wing, and it essentially allows the car to go faster in a straight line.
Kind of eliminates some of the downforce. Not all of it, but some of it.
Yeah. And look at that, second DRS zone. Oh, no, Vettel not giving it up that easy. Into 4, into the parking lot.
Ooh.
Keeping it tight.
Ooh.
Oh, a little bit of bop of the wing there. And,
They managed to take it.
job done. Look at that. Job done.
Yeah, but now can you hold it? That's the
We'll
question.
have to wait and see. Vettel is pretty relentless in this game. Yeah, so I mean, the drag reduction system is cool. A lot of people don't like it. because it does. I feel like some people will say that it kind of is fake. It kind of makes false overtakes.
Well, I can see where they're coming from with that though, because you know the other person doesn't have the capability of using it since they're in front, but the other person does. It makes their car faster for the straight, giving them that false overtake. But at the same time, if they didn't have that, then nobody would be overtaking.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You know, it's generally the armchair enthusiasts complaining.
Armchair enthusiast.
Because if you remember back to the 80s and 90s and even, you know, early 2000s, most of F1, I should say, Vettel looking to make another comeback. I'm closing off the inside. Oh, and Dave is off.
Okay.
Cut back to that in a minute. Vettel looking down for the inside here, but of course the inside apex is very
squeezed him
tight
out
there. Yeah, a lot harder to overtake. Or keep your position, rather, on the apex there, because it is kind of a 90-degree. And looking like Dave's front wing is off. Let's see, okay, let's see what happened to Dave here. Sirotkin ahead. Looking to get past on the sheet. Oh! And a little bit too much counter steer there. The wing.
Front wing damage.
Yep,
Recommend
front
you
wing
use
damage indeed.
A new strategy is available on the MFT.
And that's where the rest of the front wing went. Yeah. Not going great for Dave this afternoon.
It is my first race on this game, so.
Yes, quite literally. It was literally his very first race. For some reason, you didn't practice.
I don't know what happened there.
You know, do anything else.
Oh, because it's weird because the next race we actually practiced for a good amount of time before we actually did it. So I don't know what the fuck happened with this. I don't know. I guess I was just eager to get to it.
Yeah, get her done. Vettel's still on my anus. I'll finish my thought. I was just going to say that DRS, the era before that, all of Formula One, there was like very little overtaking. You ended up with some really great races and really great moments, and the overtakes we did get were amazing, but there was very, 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 very few of them. I think a recent season, 2013 or 2019 or something, there was like 80 overtakes the whole season. That was it. That's like, that's not, when you consider there's 20 cars, they should be passing each other more than that. So it was kind of a bit of a soggy dick.
Yeah, and like I said, I see where people get that saying from, but I'd much rather have the DRS so you can get more overtakes and much, a more entertaining race in terms of that.
Yeah, well, yeah, so it's like, it depends on what way you look at it. I wouldn't consider it fake. Almost doing it again.
Stop cutting that corner, mate.
Yep, would be advisable. But I feel like anything to benefit the racing, like it's not necessarily fake if the person, Vettel's sticking to my ass, if the person behind you has the ability to overtake as well, once you pass them, then it's, it levels it out. It's not necessarily fake. It doesn't necessarily matter which car is faster at that point. It helps level the playing field a bit, which I think is obviously the intention. You don't want one team winning all the time, and that's what happened in the eras before DRS. So, which is why I think this year they made the DRS flap even larger and the wings even taller, so it has a multiplied effect.
Freaking massive.
Yeah.
But I do like the way curves is now integrated into the engine, basically, not a manual type thing. I mean, it's like, I guess you want to call it semi-auto, because you can still set the amount.
There we go.
But it's not. What?
121 back to Dave. Gap is increasing. In fact, I guess if you look at that mini map there, you can see Dave going through the middle of the map there to the green dot, and then me is being the car behind him, so he's not that far from being that lap down. And Vettel looking for a way past on the fast left-hander through the chicane, decides to back out because fuck, two cars going through there. Yeah. I think it's just ERS now. I don't know why they dropped the K. It was kinetic energy recovery system. Now it's just energy recovery system. to make it even more confusing and sound almost like DRS because it's, you know, one letter and the
Maybe that's
difference
why
and
they
they sound
did
the same. I think for a while it's sort of been how it's integrated in this game, which by default is something that you operate. You change the level of it from 0 to 5, 0 being off, 5 being maximum, and that essentially is the charge of your battery. You can see on the sort of the HUD there on the bottom left corner, you have the blue bar and then the number above it. That would sort of be the charge level that it's currently set to. The amount left is how much battery there is, period. And then the 2 bars under it, you have deployed and harvested. So you are allowed to deploy so much energy per lap, and you're allowed to harvest so much energy per lap. Dave finding new corners to go around out there today. And there's me not that far behind him, going around the same corner. So there are limitations. I think it's 36 seconds a lap if you were to deploy it at maximum. So you sort of need to find a balance there where you can use some of it per lap, obviously, but not all of it. Otherwise, you will be down on power. The battery does offer, I think, about 250 horsepower extra. So it is a considerable addition to the engine. Being without it is a massive... is devastating because there's a number of races. The MGU system.
Hard to find a word there.
Yeah. Well, just, you know, there's been a number of races where those systems, the MGU-H and MGU-K systems, sort of the battery system, fail on a car. You know, they lose the race because of it. They're not fast enough. They don't have enough power.
Push now.
Team radio.
We're boxing this lap.
All right, pitting now. Time to do that
Pick
hammer
this lap.
time.
I guess that's one thing, because I already pitted twice, so
Yep.
kind of have somewhat new tires.
Yeah, which is odd that you went on to the super softs, if I'm honest. Although, again,
I
Dave's
don't know
new
what
to
the
the game.
strategy was on that.
Dave was just sticking with whatever strategy they throw at you, which is also a new thing and is nice in this game. That previously you kind of had to set your strategy and that was it. If you wanted to change it, you had to do that yourself. Like go into the pit menu and select what you wanted while you were driving, which in some races is not particularly easy. But in this race, if something happens, there's a safety car, you get stuck in a position that wasn't necessarily forecasted for your race, then your race engineer will actually suggest new pit strategies for you to use.
I mean, you still gotta accept them, but they're
You
easier
do, if
to
you-
access.
Yeah.
Because they're kind of like little pop-ups on the bottom there. You just hit a button and it accepts it.
Yeah, that whole system is a massive improvement. I mean, we might have been talking about it before, and when we did our 2014 championship, here we're coming in now. Keep it slow to the line. There we go. But being able
Whip it
to
in.
ask the engineer things like the forecast or who's ahead of you or what's going on in the race, it's nice to get that feedback, and I think it's something vital for a racing game like this. I think a lot of other racing games should adapt something like that. Project Cars would be great.
Yeah. Being that Project Cars is now more motorsport oriented anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it always kind of was. There's always about that
Yeah.
sort of story between, you know, open wheel racing or...
I mean, like the first game kind of was just... Oh, taking that line again. And the
not
first
even
game was
farther, 'cause
more...
you're tracking the sand in the last one.
The one thing that's cool about this game is if you get off track and get gravel or sand or something on your tires, it leaves tracks on the actual asphalt of the track, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
Small detail.
But yeah, anyway, Project Cars would be cool because you do get that sort of narrative of going between the divisions. If you start in karting and work your way up to what is essentially Formula One, but not called Formula One in that game, or like touring cars and work your way up to Le Mans or something, it would be nice to have that feedback because it obviously is
True.
kind of a backbone
helps.
to the racing. And whenever I play it, it's, you know, sorely missed, I feel like, after having played these games. So here we go, back on board Dave, still in 19th. Finally been able to catch up now after having pitted again. Catching up to Stroll, the Canadian. The only Canadian in Formula One at the moment.
didn't even know he was Canadian.
Yep.
So actually, we have a racer now that actually has a home race in Canada. Nice.
Yeah, he got quite a response when I was there in 2017.
The car behind has come in. They're now on the soft tyre.
So yeah,
Softness
just
on the car
just
behind.
managing to eke out in front of Vettel there after swapping compounds. So that was a bit of a lightning out lap, if I may be somewhat of a narcissist. Whilst Vettel was on his super softs going over to the change, Dave ahead of Stroll now, obviously. 15-second gap to Ericsson. Maybe start reeling him in a little bit.
They might get lucky with a pit stop or something. Who knows?
Maybe. It would be nice to see Stroll in a proper car, though, because he's been in the Williams for a while, and that thing is slow as fuck.
Yeah, but Williams isn't terrible, though.
The last 2 years they have been,
Yeah, well.
and it's not looking great this year, but we'll keep our fingers crossed.
I know I asked this question before, but which one was the one with the alpha paint job?
The Alpha, well, last year it was the Sauber. This
The
year
Sauber,
it's
that's
called
what
out, and it is called an Alfa Romeo this year.
Is it?
Yeah.
So they don't call it a Sauber anymore, it is Alfa Romeo.
No, it's just Alfa Romeo F1 team. I think they have a Sauber engineering sticker somewhere on the car, and that's it.
Way to fucking downgrade the name of that one.
Yeah, I think it was a money thing. Somebody
Yeah.
said, Ferrari said, hey, we'll give you $1 billion to put to call this Alfa Romeo. I'm like, all right.
Front is 6.
But the thing though, like if it was an actual Alfa Romeo team, it should have a Ferrari engine, being that.
I believe
Alpha.
they do.
They do now?
I don't know if they did last year or not. I believe they did.
Oh. Well, okay
The
then.
Haas's have Ferrari engines. I believe the Saubers did as well. I think they're
Alright.
doing that now because Purple Sector, here we go. I believe Ferrari somewhat saw the benefit of Red Bull having Toro Rosso as a junior team.
Yeah.
There we go. We got to replay. So this is lap 7. We got some highlights here of the battle between me and Vettel. The original overtake down into turn 3. Once
A
again,
little
through
bit
the
of
parking lot.
almost touching there. Oh.
Close, hard, fair racing. A little bit of a tap there. No damage, though. This is good. It easily could have been a puncture. Moving on to lap 9 now, down to main straight. Vettel looking for a door, closing off the inside. Keeping him from running around. Although he once again gets the double DRS, 2 DRS zones. There actually is three DRS zones on this track this year.
Couldn't get it. Oh!
Just closing him off there, just saving his front wing by backing out at the last second. Through the parking lot once again. Lap 9 now. Coming back at me. I don't know if we saw this one or not, maybe. Oh, and I think a little bit of a tap there behind from Vettel. A little bit too aggressive into, what is 13, into 14. And lap 10. Going in through Clark Corner. Up through 11, where's Vettel? Where is he?
On your left.
Oh,
One
there
on
we
the
go.
inside.
Right in the mirror.
Oh!
And
Slams
once
on the
again,
brakes.
Backs out through 11 and 12. I think he keeps his foot in it down to 13. I see him in the mirror there.
There he is.
Nope. There we go. Back on board with Dave. Yeah, I forgot what I was talking about. Whatever.
Ferrari, Williams, and
Yeah.
Red Bull.
With Red Bull and Toro Rosso, they can kind of... and they've closed the gap, though I did pit. So that is probably one of the reasons that, but it is coming down.
Yep.
They can kind of... Red Bull can kind of tell Toro Rosso to get the fuck out of the way if they're, in front of them. And the same with kind of Mercedes and any other team that supplies, that gets engines from Mercedes, like Force India and Williams. So those teams kind of jump out of the way a little bit of Mercedes.
Yeah.
Kind of like you would anyway, because those cars are slower than a Mercedes. But then Ferrari goes, oh, well, we can make people move out of the way of us, too. We give Haas Ferrari engines and Sauber Ferrari engines. So,
I guess that's one way to look at it, yeah.
which is kind of one of the shitty politics sides of Formula One that kind of works that way. You would kind of want everybody be able to race openly and fairly with the same sort of.
Now,
set
what
of
would
rules,
happen
but-
though if, like, uh, let's just say, so for some reason a Haas is in front of a Ferrari, and they're telling the Haas to move out of the way so the Ferrari can get ahead, even though that's not, fair. And the driver in the Haas says, yeah, no, fuck that. If he wants the position, he's gonna have to fight for it. What would happen to the driver of the Haas if he doesn't get the position and ends up staying in that position and keeping it?
Well, I think that's subjective. It depends on the situation. If a Haas, for whatever reason, was fighting for the lead, they were in the lead of the race, and there was a Ferrari behind. I don't think Ferrari would hold a grudge.
Well, not
if-
necessarily the lead, but let's just say he was in, I don't know, third, in
Yeah,
the podium.
a good point scoring position, and there was a Ferrari behind. Then I don't think Ferrari would hold a grudge at that. They'd probably be like, hey, shaking their finger, hey, we supply you your engines.
Remember that.
We're just reminding you we supply you our engines. Maybe they'll be more expensive next year.
That's
but-
true. They can always go around and do shitty things like that.
Yeah. Generally, I would say Haas or other teams that get engines from a specific manufacturer, if they're not competing directly with that team, like you pick your strategy for your race. You know who you're fighting against. You know your pace. You do a lot of testing and practice coming into the weekend, so you really know. You have a good handle on your finishing position if everything goes well. If everything goes really well, somebody crashes ahead of you, maybe you can pick up more points and you can be more competitive. Generally, I would say Haas would move out of the way of Ferrari if they know they're not really racing them. Like, we'll jump out of the way to let you go ahead because we know we're really not going to be able to beat you. But in other situations where they would be competing, I would expect it to be a bit more fair and to not just jump on the grenade.
Okay.
But who knows? Ferrari. I don't know if I'll end up on a list somewhere for this, but they're kind of assholes. They're very
They are.
They're very closed off. They do they do things in their own way. They're very precise. Radio. They've gone into the pits again, lap 18 to 29 now. Obviously, the super softs were not going to go to distance because they're a very soft compound and they degrade very quickly. So obviously, the ideal compound to go on now would be the mediums, or even the softs again if they could go that far. But yeah, Ferrari do things in their own way. They're after going through, there's been more bosses at Ferrari in the last few years than I don't know what.
Well, it's not just Ferrari as a team. Ferrari is like a car manufacturer too.
Yeah, they're very
shitty. In terms of, not like a shitty car, but, shitty in some of the things they do.
Yeah, they're, narcissistic. They're very kind of pretentious a little bit. I appreciate their drive, their mission of what they want to do, but they do a lot of kind of weird, shady things. They've been trying to, essentially advertise Marlboro cigarettes on their cars since I think it was 2007. It was like officially banned. They weren't allowed to do it. And ever since then, they've had something on their car that kind of looks like, if you're unfamiliar, the old Marlboro logo was essentially like a red and white chevron, and that was for McLaren and Ferrari of the day. A lot of old Formula One cars had Marlboro logos on their car. McLaren in the 90s, famous Senna car was white and red for Marlboro. Ferrari, the same thing. They had a lot of the white chevron draped over the back of the red car. And for a long time, they've been trying to get that logo back on the car. They used to put a barcode on it. They had their little red rectangle with the white square on it for a long time. Yep, and this year and last year, actually, they've started something called Mission Win Now, which the M of it in and of itself, draped over the back of the car, once again looks like the white chevron. And I think that's done in conjunction. Gap going back up again, another 9 seconds since the last time we saw that lap delta. It's going back down again, but Dave is coming up in position slowly, somewhat redeeming something, although he's popping into the pit soon. We'll see how many ultra softs. That's probably not the compound you want to be going on to there, Dave.
Probably not. But we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah. Although you will, they're much faster, so maybe you can make up some ground. Yellow flag. Oh yeah, we got a car off here. Who's this? The car, is it a Williams? Is it a Haas? Grosjean, is that who that was? I don't know what that was. Maybe Force India. Hard to tell. But anyway, I felt more. I think the design agency that worked with Marlboro, they've been working with Ferrari for a long time to try and get that back on the car, and the FIA keeps saying, no, you cannot do that. It's very obvious you're trying to use the fucking Marlboro logo again. So this year they actually made them paint all of the Mission Win Now stickers black, so it's no longer the red and white. And I don't know how happy Ferrari are about that, but that's the kind of stuff that they do, you know, like they're not very subtle about where they're trying to gain advantages, except they're very obvious in trying to close the door on it. So it's like,
Honestly, I mean, I understand that Marlboro was a big sponsor for F1 for a number of years, but I don't see what the big fight is to have it back on the car. I don't. I mean, maybe the amount of money they'd be getting for it. That's the only thing I can see.
I would say it's how much money, the business.
Because
That agency in Marlboro probably have a great relationship with Ferrari, and they're trying to do something. You know, trying to have a business partnership. And and finally, for cutting all those corners, Dave gets a penalty.
We've been awarded a time penalty. Will go against our finishing time at the end of the race.
20 laps in, finally get a penalty for it.
So 3-second penalty will be added to the end of Dave's finishing time. So wherever that puts him. Really, kind of not going Dave's way this race, to be honest. Things going from bad to worse.
I didn't really take it too personally, I don't think.
It's the start of the season, you know, it's not a great way to start the season, but it is the very beginning.
Yeah.
Depending on how far we get into this. Maybe we'll do all of it, who knows. Plenty of opportunities
more interest in it, so who knows.
Can't run through the thing yet, right?
Yeah.
Alright, where are we at here now? I'm on the softs as well. I guess that was sort of the tire of choice, seems to be.
I don't want to ruin nothing, but the next race is a much more interesting watch.
I have to tune in for that. Oh, way to sell the last few laps of this one, Dave.
Oh, well, we kind of already figured how this one goes. Nobody making 18 positions up in 5 laps.
Oh, Dave wins this. Stick around. Tune in. You won't believe how Dave wins this. In top 10 ways Dave wins this Australian Grand Prix. Click here.
Spoiler, I win this race, everybody. Just saying.
No spoilers. Jesus Christ. Where we got Hamilton, I think, closing in on Vettel now as well. A little bit slower race pace to be expected.
Yeah,
Obviously on older softs and getting the tires dirty. Gonna break them in.
I must have not been in this at all, man. I'm all over the place.
Exhausted or stressed out or nervous or something. But
they're just not ready for it, period.
I'm not ready for that Ferrari. Be a trial by fire. This will be Leclerc come Sunday afternoon, or whenever it is, Sunday at midnight or some nonsense, because it's in Australia.
Yeah.
There we go, back round now. And I guess if you watched our last series, it's a bit of a good dichotomy to mention. I think in one of the first videos we did last time was that the ownership of Formula One were really not utilizing the rights. If you wanted to watch it, you had to watch it on television. And, you really couldn't watch it anywhere else other than whatever TV station.
Cable TV.
Yeah, whatever.
If it was even on
a
channel you were paying for.
But now, so many years later, Formula One is owned by Liberty Media, and they seem to be somewhat more of a modern company, or going the extra steps to turn Formula One into a streaming service. So there's now a Formula One TV service that you can get. You can watch all the practice sessions from any car angle, any camera angle on the track, watch the broadcast. And depending on what package you get, not available in Canada for some reason. I'm pretty sure because TSN owns the rights. So now TSN's the problem. Let's start a pitchfork fucking torch mob, please.
Yeah, don't care. TSN's not in the States, so...
No. But if you're in a privileged country like the first world Americans, you can watch the races live. You can watch lots of historical races. They're adding more all the time.
Or if you have a good friend who records the race, you can just watch the recording on Discord.
Also that. I PVR a lot of the races. So there you go.
First world problems.
Yeah. Well, here's the first world problem. I had to switch to the composite cables, not component.
Oh,
Component. I had to switch to
Yeah,
component
component.
cable. Whatever one's not
Oh.
super archaic. Oh man, diving in between there, splitting the Williams up. But anyway, yeah, because the HDMI now, the PVR that I'm using, my TV, whatever the hell it is, cable box thing, has copy protection on it, so I can't use HDMI. So I got to use. What are you doing? All over the show here. Trying to find a way past Stroll. I mean, if you just wait until it's straight, you'd probably find a way past. And here's
Yeah,
me looking
probably.
for a way past Erica, and he jumping out of the way because they got a blue flag, which means move the fuck out of the way. But of course, Dave racing for position here against Stroll, so Stroll's really not going to jump out of the way. Although he
kind
kind
of did there.
of pushed the door open a little bit just so he didn't take him out.
Quick note I do want to say about the whole conversation about having the Alpha car is that's probably one of my favorite paint jobs on the F1 cars, though, is the Alpha paint job.
Yeah, I do wish they would change the stripes on the nose a little bit because it's very similar to the Williams, and it's very easy to confuse the two. I kind of wish
but
they would
that-
go with that red, like the candy apple red and black, if I'm honest, and put white stripes on
That
it.
would look better. Anyway,
Oh
as you
man,
were
look at that
saying,
massive gap.
With your HDMI problems.
Oh yes, I just use what do you say?
Composite.
TV providers. Take note that I am allowed to stream television on my computer because fuck you, I should be able to do that via component cables because HDMI has copy protection, so it won't stream through HDMI. I got to use component. So ripperoni that 4K. But whatever.
Just like when Buddy came over to take my internet way back years when. He's much faster than what we're paying for.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
that's
at my
not
house,
supposed to be
I'm
like that.
calling the friggin' internet provider every other day to be like, can you fucking turn your knob back up to maximum speed? Oh, a little too many beans on that curb there. Almost pulling a Dave.
Yeah, but you saved it.
Yeah, just kept it. Could have been a game changer there. Well, not super far behind. So anyway, yeah, that's what I do. That's how I watch the race. But
I just watch it whenever you.
The second TSN loses that license, I think they only have until the end of 2019. I am fucking canceling cable and getting F1 TV. Here we go. We'll see. A little bit too much. A little bit oversteer onto the curb there. That's dangerous. You put a little wheel on the grass, car starts sliding it out of your hands at that point.
But you saved it.
Blue flag.
So, blue flag. Ricardo coming up to lap you now. Dave not having a good race at all.
No, but at least I'm not dead last.
That's true. You
Or out.
pretty well have to be in a Williams to be last. And look, trying to let Ricardo go through. There we go.
Took him a
And
while.
his home Grand Prix, Ricardo running in 4th. Not bad. I think that's the position he actually finished in. Oh, that would have been... was it 4th or 5th he finished in last year? Accurate. Super accurate.
He finished 4th or 5th, one of those.
One of them.
Yep.
Dave going to sleep over here. Too boring.
No, I was just speaking dumbly.
Oh. I'll tell you what's up. It's like, yeah, to me. Keeping it all together here. So, bit of action on the race. Dave not having a good one, though. It was pretty easy sailing for me up front once I got ahead of Vettel there.
Yeah, he managed to keep it.
And a couple
Sounds
laps to
good.
go. Let's see how we do. We got, I think there was a Leclerc or one of the Saubers in between Vettel and Hamilton there. So
Oh, so it's a little something to break it up.
not as tight between the back. Looking like Vettel's going to keep ahead. Very wide through the end there. Looking like those Ultras are getting a bit worn.
Yeah, there's no point in pitting now.
Not pitting now, no, but
Take it
if you
easy.
had fitted the mediums, or actually I guess the mediums weren't available, would have been the softs. You had fitted the softs earlier. You might have not have had to pit so many times. But who knows? Maybe you would have got
Well,
smacked by fucking
like
Hulkenberg
what,
again.
2 or 3 of those pit stops were because of my wing.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it really didn't make a difference.
It's also probably fair to assume, with all the tire changes and everything, you may not have had another fresh set of tires to go on to. So
Yeah,
maybe that's why
probably.
they put you on the ultras. Just
I
still kind
should've
of
still
a
had
bad
a-
decision.
I still should have softs.
Another car out there. Who's that? Force India? I don't know who that was. Somebody parked down the end of the track there.
Expecting the
I
tyre
don't know.
to start falling off.
But off the track, so likely not a safety car.
Should be okay for a while longer despite that.
And tires looking a bit worn. I've done.
Halfway. You can make it.
What have I done on these now? 20 laps? Something like that? I'm not paying attention to this.
I would say 20.
Okay. Who's Dave coming up now? Ericsson. You got Ericsson ahead of him. So I guess this all really comes down to where can Dave finish? How many positions can Dave gain here? You got.
Can I catch him?
Alright. How about you and that?
A little wide there.
Get some beans down the straight. What's Dave's pace?
Slow.
1.3 through sectors, right? And you would think it'd be a bit quicker than that now with the ultras and the car lighter on fuel.
Yeah,
Maybe
if
I
that was,
haven't,
I don't know.
Maybe you
A
got
little
some
more
floor damage
practiced.
or something. Even though, yeah, practice goes a long way.
I think that was my biggest thing here was I didn't get enough practice with the game as a whole at this point.
So yeah, you're effectively ahead of 2 cars. 3 of them aren't racing anymore.
I'm gonna be quiet. Still ahead of the head.
Almost into
Alright.
points. 5 positions away. There's a lot of discussion about how points should be distributed in the championship. Well, some people say that you should get at least 1 point for finishing a race, and I don't disagree, because a lot of people will strategically retire a car to save an engine or some other parts if they know they're not going to score points, and I feel like that's kind of metagaming it a bit. So if you awarded people for finishing, final lap. Go down to the final lap. So if you awarded people for finishing, it might, encourage a bit more actual track time.
Yeah, I agree. Should be at least a point for finishing the race.
Yeah, that'd be nice. And I think actually this year they might implement, even for the first race, we'll have to wait and see this weekend, they might implement a fastest lap gets a point rule. I don't know if that's, I would assume that's just for the race and not for qualifying. But I know in Formula E they award a point or a couple of points for pole position, which is interesting. I feel like that's something they should look at as well. But of course, it's all sort of sensitive stuff because you could effectively change the championship outcome by changing some of the rules like this. I know Niki Lauda won against, I believe it was Alain Prost, by a half a point. So,
Oh yeah, I remember that. Well, it's in the movie, at least, or documentary.
yeah.
So it wasn't a lot.
So it's like, they make all the difference sometimes. And they're sort of awarded in that structure, 25, 18, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, and 1, I think that's how it goes. Top 10 positions effectively get 10 points. So here we go, coming into the last 2 corners. Through, speaking of Alain Prost, through Prost's corner there, out through 16. And that's it. I win the first race of the season in Melbourne. Or Melbourne, as the Australians call it. Of course, they would know Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Melbourne, mate.
Alright.
And back on board Dave. So I'm in the lead. Where can Dave finish? He's still a lap down. Dave is on lap 28. Got Ericsson still ahead of him. And I guess that will probably be it for the race. They probably won't let you, I think if you're a lap down, they'll just end it here. So
It just finishes.
yeah, this is Dave's finishing position as well. Dave's in 15th, 8 seconds behind Ericsson. So close the gap a little bit. There we go, Dave getting his first
not terrible.
achievement. Yeah, trial by fire, really. Dave jumping into the deep end. Here we go, we got the results of that. Yeah, there's your point structure. So those will be tallied up at the end of the season for all of the drivers, 2 per team, and then the 10 constructors. You're going to see further down, Dave a lap down. Got Sorokin, Perez, Grosjean, Hulkenberg. Down at the bottom there, here we go. Driver standings in terms of the points after the first race. Of course, the order is the same as pretty much the racing order. Yeah, and all the way down there, Dave in amongst the field to try and redeem himself next time. Constructors standings, here's what it looks like with all those points tallied. Mercedes on top. And then there we go.
Third.
Ferrari further down, yep. The bottom three with no points at all. On the podium, me, Vettel, and Lewis Hamilton. Look at that.
Look at that.
I do like that they put your number and name on the car in this one.
That's a nice little touch.
Yeah. That was kind of dumb to be racing as your own character, but then it says Bottas or something on the side of your car. The champagne, there we go. So that's it. That's this race in Australia. I hope you'll join us next time when we come to Bahrain.
Next time.
So we'll see you then, everybody.